What's a micro review? It's basically like a shorter review, like a condensed review. A micro review, huh? Well, allow me to micro review your channel. I mean, these long videos, they take forever to come out, even when you're actually like actively working on them. And then you go through such periods of just lacking motivation that even the clips have, plenty of absences. How about that? That's kind of harsh. I mean, I only like to make videos when I actually have passion to make them, but you know what? That's everything you said. That's totally fair. I accept this micro review. Well, I hope that intro was informative of what planning on doing today. So basically, the idea for this video is just that I'm kind of on a bit of a movie kick right now. I go through longer periods where I haven't watched movies, but right now I'm kind of in the mood to talk about some movies that I've been watching and some media that I've been engaging with. But wasn't really like I want to make a video on any of these. So I just, I got the idea. Why don't I just kind of do a condensed review of all of them? Why don't I combine them together into one video? That way I can still talk about these things that I've been wanting to talk about, but, they're not like their own, like, 5-minute video or whatever they'd be. So I could just talk a little bit and move on. So that's what we're going to be doing today. Also, something else to point out is because these are their own independent micro reviews, they're all not going to be recorded on the same day. Like, I already know there's like two movies, one or two, that I want to have in this video that I have not seen yet at this point in time. So when my clothes change, that's why I just want to get this out now, because I'm not going to address it every time. I don't know how many times is going to be recorded. One more thing before I get started, one other thing, is that because these are micro reviews, normally when I do reviews for stuff on this channel, I try to have a spoiler-free and a spoiler section, so you can still get my thoughts on the media without having it spoiled, and then you can go watch it yourself and form your own opinion, because I'm very much of the mindset that, you should watch things and experience media for yourself and form your own opinion and not just fully take my word for it. But because these are micro reviews, don't have time for a spoiler free and a spoiler section. So if there is something in here that you do want to see and you don't want spoiled, I would just recommend just skipping to the next section, and then you can just come back to this video after I have seen it. So yes, expect full spoilers for everything I'm talking about in this video. And also, if you enjoyed this format, if you enjoyed this video, feel free to let me know in the comment section. Hit a like on this video, all that. This is something new that I'm trying, and if I liked recording it, and you guys, obviously I know these videos don't get the most views, but if you guys like this, let me know, and I'll continue to do some more. So let's hop right into the first thing that I want to talk about. Hayao Miyazaki is one of my favorite filmmakers ever. He's produced some of my favorite movies, and it's really hard to say that he's made a bad one. In fact, actually, I know it's really tough to see now, ever since I switched to using natural light over lamp, but you can, in the back there, if you see a movie poster, that's actually a movie poster for Spirited Away, which is arguably my favorite movie ever. And so I know I'm a bit late to it, but I finally did get around to watching his newest and supposed final film. I say that because from my understanding, the last two films were also supposed to be his final film, and he still kept going on. But, oops, I dropped. Let me get it. Dropped Cryogonal. I'm a very fidgety person. Anyway, the movie I'm talking about now is The Boy and the Heron. His last, supposedly, movie. At least his latest one. This movie was an interesting experience. It felt very messy. I've read in an interview before that Miyazaki, he sort of stated that he, like, writes from the subconscious with his movies. And that he starts movies not really knowing how they're going to end. Which, to me, is kind of amazing. Right? Like, even as someone who just does these YouTube videos, I typically have some sort of plan about what I'm going to say and where these things are going to go. Even though, of course, it never winds up the same way once I, actually sit down to record. So, it's kind of amazing that he's produced some really, like, amazing films out of that. Like I said, Spirited Away, Totoro, Kiki's Delivery Service. He's really produced some amazing films that when you watch them, it's kind of like, how does he not know how this film was going to end when he started it? But this movie was one of the ones where it felt like the negatives of that approach really sort of came out. The film just felt very scattered and all over the place. And while I know it's very fantastical, fantasy story, there are still some things that just sort of felt like open-ended questions that just kind of bothered me. Starting with the heron, the namesake of the movie, the whole thing with the heron is just very weird. I understand that he's like the rabbit in Alice in Wonderland. This movie reminded me quite a bit of both Alice in Wonderland and Narnia. I mean, I've only seen The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Well, I guess I read that one too. But still, had that very whimsical adventure feel. And there was just some things that just happened that I was just, like, confused about. The heron was one of them. The fact that the heron was like just like a dude that had powers, right? And it was like when his beak had a hole in it, then he sort of lost his magic and just became a dude. But when the beak was repaired, he just became like a heron again. That whole thing was really weird to me. There was also that thing where Mahito, the movie's main character, once he gets into this fantasy world, he's like attacked by, I just looked it up just so I would have it. What was it? Seagulls? Yes. He's attacked by pelicans, and he's told like not to go beyond this creepy door, and it just is like, okay, why? Like, why is this stuff happening? I understand it's a fantasy world, but you kind of just throwing these elements out there and just kind of leaving them, right? Like, I was totally fine with the parakeet world, like the giant parakeets. Like, that stuff I could more easily buy because it is like a fantasy world, but when you just kind of throw out evil pelicans and this giant mystery door and kind of just don't answer them, it just kind of left me wondering. I felt like there was more to the story that just wasn't fully captured in this movie. That being said, there were still parts of this movie that I did really enjoy, and it really all came down to the character work, especially with Mahito. Right, let me just double check. Yeah, Mahito. I really like that beginning section. The movie kind of gripped me right away with, unfortunately, Mahito's mother being killed within the opening scene, and then him having trouble adjusting to his new life, right? His father goes his father moves in with his mom's sister, and he's having trouble adjusting to that fact and accepting her as his new mom because his mom was just killed in the fire. and you know, he's having trouble at school, and like all of that really established Mahito as someone that I was really endeared to and wanted to succeed. And to me, that it's really the character work that really carried this movie, because every moment from this movie that I look back as this was really good, I really liked that, all had to do with the character work in this movie. Like, the couple scenes that really stood out to me were when Mahito finds his new mom, right? I guess his stepmom, aunt, his aunt, who's basically now his stepmom. And he tries to accept her as his mom. You know, he sort of comes to that realization, I guess you could say, and they're kind of being separated by these paper things. And, you know, his stepmom isn't ready to accept him. That part got me pretty emotional, especially because of all the character work they did at the beginning. And also everything with Mahito's mom, finding his mom in Wonderland. I don't remember if they gave it a name in the movie, but it is, you know, it's like Wonderland. So, finding his mom there and going on adventures, it was very bittersweet, heartwarming. Like, it was very sad and happy. It was happy that Mahito got to have these new experiences with the person that he was, you know, grieving and that he was struggling to move on without. That was very joyous, but it was sad because it doesn't change the fact that she died in the real world. Like, that still happened. You can't really escape that. And that's also why the ending, that last exchange between the two of them, got me as well, because Mahito's reluctant to go back because he doesn't want to leave his mom, and his mom kind of pushes him through, and you know, Mahito tells her, you're gonna die, you know, like, if you go back to your time, right, like, you're gonna die, come with me. And she's like, but it's all gonna be worth it because you're my son. And it's like, that whole thing just got me super emotional. So yes, even though the movie was quite all over the place and was a bit confusing at parts, I still enjoyed this movie, and it's actually one that I want to rewatch at some point, just to see if I can fully grasp the story more. Overall, I would give this rating, you know, usually rating scales, I tend to view things more as like, you know, meh, good, great, and then obviously like bad, awful, terrible, the other way around. I would give this movie a good. I think that is completely fair. Obviously, while it has some problems that prevent it from moving up higher on that ranking, it still has enough going for it that, like I just talked about, I want to rewatch it. And of course, the animation just is really pretty. The animation alone, you know what? Because of how pretty the animation is, I'll give it a good plus. No, I can't give it a good plus. I'm sorry. I can't give it a good plus. This movie's good. And that's where it shall stay. The Grand Budapest Hotel is actually what inspired me to make this video. Mainly because, so I actually watched this one with Joe. Unfortunately, I did not think about this video until after I left his place, so this micro review is just me. But after we watched it, he turned to me and asked, is the Grand Budapest Hotel going to get a video? And I lied to him and I said that it wasn't. So I'm sorry, Joe. I lied, even though I said the truth at that point. I said, no, I don't think so. But here I am doing a micro review of it. By far the best part of the Grand Budapest Hotel is the production. The production level of this movie is top notch. And it's very noticeable, like, just how much care went into obviously making this movie, but just like every shot of this movie is just it feels like every shot of this movie was just carefully planned out on how that could help tell the story better. And so I guess I should explain what the plot is a little bit to get to my point. I looked it up, so it's not a book, but in the movie, like, the Grand Budapest Hotel is a book, right? It's a book that someone wrote. And we follow the author as he winds up having dinner with the owner of the Grand Budapest Hotel, which is basically this, like, super fancy hotel in, like, Italy. And he's there in, like, I think it was in 1930s Europe. I believe that's what it was. Before World War II, I'm pretty sure. In between World Wars, I'm pretty sure that's when it's set. And the author of this book has dinner with the owner of the Grand Budapest Hotel, and the owner recounts his story of how he wound up being the owner of such a, like, ludicrously fancy, a super expensive, top-notch hotel. And in the flashback, the whole flashback is 4:3. You don't know what I mean. It's like, watch, like, any old TV where it's not widescreen and they have, like, 2 black bars on the side. That's what 4:3 means. And so it was that's just one of those, like, small details where it's like they didn't have to do that, but to just better convey the message, they said, okay, for this, like, older flashback, we're going to make this 4:3, and then we're going to make everything set in the present. Obviously it's not present now, but present to the author. We're going to make it widescreen to really establish the difference in the stories. And what's interesting is that the flashback, it's basically the entire movie. There are some flashes back to the present, but the movie is about how Zero goes from being a lobby boy who works at the entrance of the hotel to the owner's favorite person to work with, and how that eventually leads him to becoming the ownership of the Grand Budapest Hotel. That is what the movie's about. Like, the author of said book, which I looked up, is not real. The Grand Budapest Hotel is not an actual book you can go out and buy, unless it's one that's, like, on this movie. Like, he's, like, the side plot. Right? Like, he's the B plot. The flashback is the A plot. And that A plot is led by Ralph Fiennes as the previous owner of the Grand Budapest Hotel, who winds up giving it to Zero. And he is actually the reason why I watched this movie. Because, so one day I just was looking on Netflix looking for movies to watch. I watched this movie called The Menu, which I'm not, like, a thriller horror person at all. Netflix labeled this movie as comedy, and I'm still really like, why? Why was that movie labeled a comedy? I do not know. But I could still recognize that it was a very well put together movie, and the guy who stole the show was Ralph Fiennes. He was the lead in that movie, and he was just, like, absolutely amazing. And I also found out, hey, he played Voldemort in the Harry Potter movies, and he was also amazing there. So it's like, wow, this guy is an insanely good actor. So that led me to watching Conclave. And I actually watched Conclave a couple months before the Pope died, which is kind of hilarious in its timing. Obviously, rip Pope Francis. And then that led me to saying, oh, I should watch the Grand Budapest Hotel at one point too, when I saw that he was in this movie. And yeah, basically what I'm just learning through this journey is how amazing of an actor Ralph Fiennes is. Because in all 4 of these movies that I was just talking about, where he played completely different roles, like, these 4 roles feel like they could not be farther apart in these movies, and he was just amazing in all of them. Like, he's just an absolutely ridiculous actor, and that's just, I guess I figured that out too late, but it's just like, damn, is he good. And just like with those other movies, well, I guess he didn't really hard carry Harry Potter, but he was still like, wow, he was great. But like, he carried Conclave, he carried The Menu, and he carried the Grand Budapest Hotel on his shoulders by Ralph Fiennes, by playing, in this movie, he played Monsieur Gustave H. I probably got that pronunciation wrong, but he plays this super rich hotel owner who's kind of like really down with the like, you know, he gets along with the ladies very well. He's a very ladies man, and he's very like fancy and uptight, and while he's very kind, he also cares, at least he's presented that way, he cares a lot about sort of like that everything's perfect at the hotel, and that everything's perfect for his guests, right? Everything has to be perfect for its guests. You know, he winds up getting arrested throughout the middle of this movie, and he writes a letter to the hotel staff from jail, basically saying, you guys better do your job, and if I find out that like one of you messed up once, like your ass is getting fired. Like, I don't care that I'm in jail. And in that way, like, because he's such a nice guy, like, it's very played for comedy, I guess you could say. So I guess I should basically explain why he's in jail. He's in jail for he's falsely accused of murder one of his older lady friends, because what winds up happening is one of his older lady friends dies right soon after he sees her in the beginning of the movie, and her son wants like all of her belongings, right? Like, he wants full inheritance, and Ralph Fiennes wound up getting some, getting some of it for himself, including a like super expensive painting. So the son basically set Ralph Fiennes up to, basically reported him to the cops as having been this lady's murderer, and so he's thrown in jail awaiting trial. But he breaks out of jail before that ever happens, and like there's like a very like this is kind of his fanciness, right? Like coming into play, where when Zero meets him outside of jail, he's all like surprised, right? Like Zero didn't bring any disguises or makeup or like anything to help them escape, but like and so like Ralph Fiennes is kind of like asking him like, what did he bring to help them escape? And they're just like standing there. Like, they're standing there above the like the sewer pothole that he just escaped from for like 2 minutes, just not leaving. Like, dude, you have to go. Like, you just broke out of prison. Why are you still standing there? Like, there's a lot of just like moments like that are played off for comedic effect. And there's another one later on in the movie where this witness that who worked at the hotel, they try to find him to prove Ralph Fiennes' innocence. I'm just saying the actor's name just because it's just easier for me. Kind of want to butcher his character's name. And they find him, but before he can like testify or help him out, really he's killed. And it's like while they're like escaping from law enforcement, they like take a moment to like pause to pay respect to their worker who was just killed. It's just like little like funny things like that this movie is very, very stylized in that way, very like fancy, and I just talked about how the production like really went into that, like how the movie was shot, like really just lends itself to that. Unfortunately, though, it has the same problem that The Boy and the Heron had. It's actually kind of ironic, these are back to back, which is that this movie was very scattered and all over the place. And while that really meshed well with Ralph Fiennes's character, just in terms of like the plot and like the presentation to the viewer, it could be a little jarring, and there were certainly moments where Joe and I both looked at each other as like, what the heck is going on in this movie right now? Like, you know, where is this going? Right? Like, what am I watching? Like, Jeff Goldblum appears in this for a couple scenes only to be killed. And he does a good job, of course, but it's just like there's just a lot of little things that, right, like, it's like, while the plot I'm talking about, like, sounds simple, there's a lot of little things that go on that make it not as simple and a little bit more confusing. I don't would say confusing is the right word, because I understood the plot, but it was just all over the place. It was very scatterbrained. It was like, it felt kind of like me sometimes, or like, if you know, like someone who's like really scatterbrained, where it's like you're in the middle of talking about one thing and then they talk about another, and then immediately like are reminded to talk about something else, and then they talk about that, and then they go back to the original thing, and then they're reminded of something else, and then they talk about that. Like, that's the kind of energy this movie brought to it. And I enjoyed it, but that it, you know, it sort of hindered, like, you know, I didn't think it was a good thing necessarily that I was asking multiple times throughout this movie, what the heck is going on right now? Overall, though, I enjoyed this film, mainly because of, well, Ralph Fiennes was amazing. I guess that shouldn't be that surprising, but also just everything I talked about with how good the production was, how well put together of a movie this was. Those two things really carried this movie for me. The plot was okay, but enjoyable nonetheless. And so I would also give this movie a good. I think this is going to slide just right in there. And so, yeah, this was a solid movie. This was a solid, enjoyable time. I do not regret watching it. Would I watch it again? Yeah, at some point I would. And would I recommend it to you? Yes. So, yes, it was a good movie, but because of the problems I talked about, I can't really give it anything more. And also, like, the way Zero got the hotel, they kind of just said it at the end, and, like, it was just a little anticlimactic. I sort of feel in retrospect. It was basically Ralph Fiennes' character just gets killed. Well, because Zero was, you know, the guy who got the hotel was an immigrant. And so there was some military tension going on at the time. And so Zero got in trouble for not having, like, the right documents, despite being with this super rich person. That happened once earlier in the movie. And then it happened at, like, the end of the movie, and then Zero basically just said, oh yeah, he was shot. Ralph Fiennes was shot, and because I was put in his will as, like, the benefactor, I received the hotel. And that part was just, like, a little kind of anticlimactic, but overall, this movie was pretty good, pretty solid, and I would recommend it to you all. Even if you haven't seen this movie and I just spoiled, like, the entire plot for you, the production and the acting of Ralph Fiennes was just so good that I would say it's still worth a watch. Just a little fun fact for you all. I have not seen a Quentin Tarantino movie before a couple nights ago, I guess. I was trying to do some math in my head. But Pulp Fiction is indeed the first Quentin Tarantino movie I've seen, I believe. And it was pretty good. This was a pretty good movie. I can't say I have a ton of desire to see a lot of his other movies because, well, this movie was pretty bloody. Yeah, and I don't know, like, there's bloody to be bloody, and, you know, I could see how that could be a problem with some of his other films. In this film, I thought it worked very well, though, because it was all in favor of demonstrating a point, which is how little these gangsters care about human life. I mean, to me, that was the message I took away from this movie. You know, if you haven't seen Pulp Fiction, it is a gangster mob slash like mob mafia movie, and there's a lot of bloodshed, and the whole point is like these characters, they will just kill people without a second thought, and yeah, like a couple examples that just come to mind. Bruce Willis takes a guy's motorcycle at the end of this movie, and the guy was like dead. Actually, like the three examples I was just thinking of actually all involve the Bruce Willis storyline. I guess I should say also, so this movie is a combination of 4 or 5 different storylines, and they're told out of order, which in some cases makes for, especially with the ending, makes for very gripping storytelling. But yeah, the couple examples I was thinking of how little these gangsters care about life is Bruce Willis. Involved Bruce Willis, who was very good in this movie, to be clear. But he was a boxer, and he wound up accidentally killing somebody in a fight. He didn't realize they had died until his taxi driver, who was taking him from the fight, told him that they had died. And he was basically met that he died with like I really don't care. Like, why should I care? At the end of the movie, he steals a motorcycle, but the person whose motorcycle he steals it from had been killed. And, you know, he's riding away on the motorcycle with his girlfriend as they're going to leave the city. They're going to leave LA. And she asks him, you know, where did you get this motorcycle? And he said, like, this is Zed's. And I'll just try to put the clip in. If I can get the clip, I'll try to put the clip in. Where she says, who's Zed? And he says, Zed's dead, baby. And then he just like drives away, like he just doesn't care. And also, Bruce Willis kills John Travolta. Just like, that was to me the most shocking one. Was John Travolta was a character, I believe his name was Vincent in this movie. This was a character that we have been following for like basically the whole movie, most of it anyway, and he just dies. And yeah, Vincent is just killed. He's waiting in Bruce Willis's bathroom, waiting for him to come home. Bruce Willis does, you know, because at most of Bruce Willis's storyline basically involves the mob being after him, and John Travolta comes out of the bathroom. Bruce Willis holds his gun at him, and just shoots him dead. Just like no hesitation, no thought, nothing. And Bruce Willis doesn't even care that he died. And John Travolta's just dead. It's like the movie doesn't even give that like second thought. Like you don't even get a thought to really think about, wait, this guy just died, right? Like it's just like, nope, he's dead. On to the next thing, right? Like, who cares? And it was just, to me, that was the whole point of the film, was really demonstrating the brutality of these gangsters, how they just don't care. To me, this movie gave across 2 things. First off, number 1, gang violence, mob violence. I'm more like concerned about it than I was before I watched this movie, because. Yeah, just seeing how little in this movie they valued human life. You know, what's that quote from Gandalf in Lord of the Rings? You know, don't be so eager to deal out death and judgment. Hold on, now I gotta find it. Many that live deserve death, and some that die deserve life. Can you give it to them? Then do not be too eager to deal out death and judgment. For even the very wise cannot see all ends. It's Gandalf. So yeah, it feels like the gangsters could hear that. And actually, I guess it's kind of what happens a little bit with Samuel L. Jackson saying this Bible quote and kind of like stopping to think about it. You know, he has a moment of self-reflection and stops to think about his life and his choices and all that. What was the second thing? Remembered. The second thing was how empty their lives were, especially portrayed with all the drugs and stuff they do. There was a lot of drugs in this movie, and their lives just felt like complete and totally empty and void of meaning. That wasn't just killing people. And so, gangs, mafia, they're a problem. At least that's the way this movie made me feel. And I guess it was good. And I thought the non-linear storylines really helped it in a couple cases. The first one is, like I said, John Travolta dying. So the fact that he dies and then you cut back to him still being alive. And I especially found that interesting because the whole conversation with, first off, they picked the right part to happen at the end. I was really gripped by that diner scene at the end, which the non-linear storyline helped because so the movie opens with these two people who are like Bonnie and Clyde, very that way, talking about, they're sitting in a diner talking about what places are the best to rob, and then they decide to rob the diner that they're in, and then you cut to the end of the movie and you find out that Samuel Jackson and John Travolta were at this diner, and it's something where it lets the rest of the scene play out, which I thought was just really smart and really clever. And Samuel Jackson's acting, that was great, but he sort of has it's interesting hearing that conversation between Samuel Jackson and John Travolta, and that whole interaction, knowing that John Travolta is going to die, where Samuel Jackson's kind of like, yeah, man, like, I want to get out of this. In one of the other earlier scenes in the movie, they have a near-death experience, and Samuel L. Jackson sort of takes that to sort of think about himself and be like, maybe this isn't the life for me. Like, maybe this is something I should get out of. Like, I don't think this is something I want to do anymore because, well, I've been given a second chance at life, and do I want to throw it away doing that? And it's a really fascinating discussion knowing that because of the non-linearness of the movie, that John Travolta, the one who's poo-pooing it and saying, oh, it's not a big deal, we're going to be fine, like, what the heck are you talking about? Knowing that he is going to be killed by Bruce Willis, and, like, it's going to happen like it's nothing. And he's not going to get a chance to stand up for himself or anything. Like, he's just shot, boom, dead. That's it. And so, yeah, that part I think was really good, and I really liked the connectiveness of the first scene of the movie is also the last scene of the movie. I thought that was really clever, and I was completely, Samuel Jackson, for me, I don't say he stole the movie, because Bruce Willis was great in this too, John Travolta was great in this too, but I was so enthralled by that final sequence in the diner between Samuel L. Jackson and the killer. It was so good, so well done, so well acted on every end. Samuel L. Jackson saying, I could just kill you, but I'm going to try to spare you. I'm going to try this new thing of valuing life and just everything. It was so fantastic. It was so well done. I was gripped to my seat, I guess. I was on the edge of my seat. I guess that's the right term, but I was just really captured and enthralled by this movie. The movie's ending, but the rest of the movie too was pretty good. And I also didn't know, actually, funnily enough, there's a meme that came out of this movie that I did not know came out of this movie. The John Travolta just being like, huh? The John Travolta looking around meme. I did not know that was from this movie. It was funny to watch this movie and be like, that's a meme. I didn't know that was from this. But yeah, overall, I liked this movie quite a bit. The acting was really good. The writing was really good. The production was good too. This movie was better than the last two movies I just talked about. To me, Pulp Fiction is a great movie. It is one that I liked quite a bit and that I would watch again. Maybe? No. Listen, I gotta go with my gut on a lot of these, right? Because these are all subjective. I was thinking maybe I should do like good plus, great minus. But no, great is genuinely how I think about this movie. If you have a stomach for some blood, or maybe even if you don't, just watch it during the daytime, because kind of the point with all the blood, like the bloodiness in this movie has a point, which is how little these guys care about human life. But yeah, if that's not a problem for you, or it is, just go watch this movie. This is a really, really good movie. It's a pretty good gangster movie that is very, very anti-gangster. And I hope people don't misinterpret that from this movie. I think this movie is very clearly anti-gangster, anti-mob, and I don't think it's trying to portray its violence as cool. I don't know if that's something people interpret from this movie, but I think it could be. So yeah, this was a pretty great movie that I enjoyed quite a bit. Knives Out 3, Dead Man Walking. Okay. For whatever reason, I thought the title was Dead Man Walking. It's Wake Up, Dead Man. Which, now that I finished the movie, I actually can kind of like understand where that comes from. Is the third and newest iteration in the Knives Out series. The interesting thing, actually, I realized about watching this movie, is that it's weird that this is like called like a series. I mean, I get why it is, because they all three of them fall under the same like title, and they all have the same, detective, but like it's not really a series because all three stories are completely independent of each other. There's none of the same characters aside from Daniel Craig as the detective. The stories are completely different. Everything like that. It's just a common thread is just, like I said, Daniel Craig, the detective. So, like, because of that, it's hard to really call this a trilogy, but, or at least it feels weird to. But what did I think of this movie? I enjoyed it quite a bit. I should say, if you've seen my my previous video on a murder mystery book, it was The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle, which was a murder mystery book I read. I'm just going to repeat some of the same stuff I said there, which is basically, I don't really, murder mystery isn't really a genre I engage with a ton, although I guess I've been engaging with it more recently. And so, I didn't really try and solve anything, right? I didn't go into this movie being like, I'm going to try to guess what happens, and I hope to be right. I kind of was just going along with the ride, and that's kind of just what I've done. I kind of want the movie to surprise me, show me something that I didn't see coming. And that is really the biggest problem I had. Well, I know this is a Knives Out 3 review. I wanted to touch quickly on Glass Onion, or I guess the other two, because I enjoyed the first one quite a bit, but Glass Onion, I really had a problem with, and it really comes down to that twist. Spoiler alert for Glass Onion if you haven't seen it, but the twist was just way too obvious in that movie. The asshole rich billionaire being the killer, I mean, that was just the least surprising thing ever. It was that kind of thing where it's like the one thing I tend to realize about these murder mystery stories is that it's never who the story wants you to think it is. To go with Wednesday, now spoilers for season 1 of Wednesday, I guess mild spoilers, but the show wants you to think it's that guy, the monster's that guy who's drawing all the paintings and who sees the monster in his dreams. And draws the paintings of those monsters. I don't remember his name, so sorry. And that was the one thing I knew about who the monster was it was okay, it's not that guy, because that's way too obvious, and the show obviously wants me to think it's him because that's an obvious red herring. Well, Glass Onion's twist is the obvious twist that I was like, there's no way this is it. Like, this is too easy. Nope, that was it. And while I know it may sound goofy to be talking about Glass Onion when this micro review is about Knives Out 3, I think it's important to talk about the expectations I had going into this movie, which were, I wanted to like it, right? I wanted to go into this movie being like, oh, this is good, but I felt like I had to, tamper my expectations a little bit. This was the third movie in the series, and, if you've watched any, movie series ever, you know that it's very rare for a sequel to live up to the first movie. And so going into this one, it really had me wondering, okay, which was the fluke? Was Glass Onion the fluke? Or was the first movie a fluke? Because if this movie, Knives Out, not Dead Man Walking, what was it? Wake Up Dead Man. If Knives Out Wake Up Dead Man was on the same scale as Knives Out Glass Onion, then I was basically done with this series. And I was going to write this whole thing off as the first one was solid, and then Rian Johnson just couldn't follow it up. I guess it wouldn't be the first time he messed up sequels, although he didn't, yes, this is a reference to Star Wars Episode 8, even though he didn't write Star Wars Episode 7. But whatever, you get the picture. But I am happy to report that Glass Onion feels like the fluke after watching this movie. This movie was pretty good. I enjoyed it quite a bit. And yeah, while Glass Onion had I guess something that's in common with all three of these movies is the cast is really good. It was really nice to see Jeremy Renner appear in a movie again after that crazy accident he had a couple years ago, where he could barely walk. He got mowed over by a snow, what was it? Not blower, snowplow. He got ran over by a snowplow or something like that. And so just seeing him being able to be in a movie like this, I was very happy for him. I also couldn't unsee the writer. I'll have to put his actor's name on screen. I'll put it here. I couldn't unsee him as Moriarty from Sherlock. If you guys haven't seen that show, you should. It's good. And just his performance as Moriarty is just so good. It's hard, and I haven't really seen him in a ton else. It's okay, that's Moriarty. I wouldn't be surprised if he was the killer, because I know that he can just turn it from 0 to 11 real fast.
If you don't stop prying, I will burn you. I will burn the heart out of you.
But in terms of the plot itself, I found it pretty good and pretty compelling. To me, the biggest, not whodunit, I guess the biggest question asked throughout this movie that the movie wants us to know is, did the priest do it? Right? Did the priest who had mentioned not liking James Brolin, I believe that's his actor's name, did he commit the murder? Because enough stuff lined up that you could reasonably believe that he was the one who did it. Now, personally, I did not think he did it. I was pretty convinced for the whole movie that he did not do it, kind of because of what I was talking about earlier, where it just seemed too obvious. That seemed like the thing the movie wanted me to think, was the solution, and then it pulled the rug out from under me and say, this was the solution. And luckily, that's actually what this movie did, unlike Glass Onion. And I also think it would have been, because the story, he's the main character of this story. I know, obviously, Daniel Craig has a huge role in this movie, but to me, the main character was the second priest. I should what's his name? Judd. Yeah, Judd the boxer. Yeah. To me, he was the main character of this movie. And let me just hold on. I should have looked out. Knives Up 3 cast. Josh O'Connor. Here we go. Josh O'Connor, who plays Judd. He did quite a good job, and quite a good job of establishing himself as like a very likable character. I mean, I don't really want to get into the religious stuff and the religious scenes presented in this movie, but I am more aligned that anger isn't really the best emotion, right? Like, anger isn't the most useful, helpful emotion, and so I was definitely more aligned with Judd than Josh Brolin. I believe I'm saying his name right, too. Yep. And so, like, yeah, to me, I found Judd to be a very likable character, and I just didn't think he did it. I didn't really wasn't able to convince myself that he was the murderer, especially because we saw the murder from Judd's point of view. So it's basically, when they show his point of view, he basically have to be lying about everything. And so I just didn't really believe that. In terms of the actual path to getting to the real answer, I was intrigued. I enjoyed it. I talked about this in the book I was referencing earlier, but how my favorite thing was seeing all the pieces come together. And to me, that's sort of what I realized has become my favorite thing about these murder mystery genre, has just been going from square one, where they only have a limited set of clues, and then they sort of amass more and enough, and then you kind of see the vision coming together, and then it's like, oh, they put all the pieces together in a satisfying way. Sort of that journey, to me, has been is the most satisfying thing, and I think it's done pretty well here, where there's multiple times where it feels like, okay, is this going to be enough? Is this enough information to maybe solve the murder? And then you just kind of get more. Right, you kind of slowly just keep getting more and more and more until the final puzzle piece is revealed. I had suspicion, I guess. Again, I didn't really like write it down and see if my prediction was correct, but the old lady seemed like it could be her. I didn't really suspect, I didn't suspect the whole inner workings with the jewel, which, I mean, was Rian Johnson inspired by Lord of the Rings, because it's kind of hilarious. I mean, Jeremy Renner was basically Isildur. It's kind of hysterical, right? So if you haven't seen or read Lord of the Rings, just quickly some backstory just to make that comparison work. So a while before the events of the movies, there was an attack. There was a war on Sauron. You know, Sauron's the big evil guy who has the ring, the one ring to rule them all. There's this last alliance of elves and men, led by this king Isildur. Isildur winds up cutting Sauron's finger with the ring on it. He takes the ring for himself, but the ring, because it feeds off of others' desires for power and it corrupts them, Isildur looks at the ring, says, I want this, and instead of destroying it under the advice of Elrond and the other elves, he takes it for himself. The ring winds up betraying Isildur, because the ring kind of has a mind of its own, kind of. So Isildur winds up running away from a bunch of orcs when his army is attacked. He goes into a river to try and escape them. The ring slips off Isildur's finger, and then he becomes exposed to the orcs. He's shot and killed, and then the ring would lie in the river forever until, Gollum would find it. That's basically the backstory. Now, just think about everything I just said with like what happens in this movie. It's kind of hysterical. So they make a plan to steal the diamond, right? That was the whole resurrection thing with Josh Brolin appearing from the tomb, which is they bury him, except it turns out it's not really him. They bury him to get the jewel that was buried in the previous priest's mouth. They get it. Jeremy Renner holds up the jewel like this, kind of like the exact twinkling like the One Ring does in Lord of the Rings. He sees it, is like, nah, I want this thing for myself. You know, he might as well have just said like, my precious. And then he cuts Samson, you know, who helped him steal the ring, jewel, it's not a ring, takes it for himself. But I mean, I guess the thing you'd be missing is the jewel betraying him, but kind of poisoning himself by trying to poison the old lady, you know, and she does I guess it's also inspired by the Princess Bride kind of thing, the battle of wits kind of, except not really, because in this case the poison was really in just one cup. But the old cup switcheroo, when Jeremy Renner had planned on poisoning her to keep the jewel for himself, you know, he winds up poisoning himself. It's kind of like the ring betraying Isildur. I don't know. Maybe it's grasping at straws, but just like the imagery, the way it was portrayed, it was very much like, okay, like this was clearly inspired by Lord of the Rings. But that's okay. I mean, Lord of the Rings is pretty great. I have my problem with the movies. This is not about that, though. But so, yeah, I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the twist. Again, seeing how it all came together was quite entertaining. I enjoyed this movie quite a bit. To me, this movie gets a good plus. This was a good movie that I enjoyed. I would definitely rewatch it. I would definitely recommend it to you all. And good plus means it's basically in between good and great. If you don't follow. And I didn't even really talk about how great of a performance Daniel Craig gave. Which is true. He did. He gave a really good performance. He's good in this. And I saw Casino Royale. He was good as James Bond as well. I guess he's just a good actor. What do you know? Hi everyone. So I know this is a different setup than normal. This is just the best setup I could find for the moment I'm recording this. I usually record these videos during the day. It's not during the day and now. So kind of had to figure it out. And this is the best setup I found works for me. So if this is going to become a recurring series, which if that's something you're interested in, comment, like, you know, all that. I want to have every video of this series contain a new original movie that I saw in theaters. I think it's something that's important to do because I want to support both new and original movies existing and movie theaters. And the best way to support both of those things is to spend your money on them. And I think both of them are important. Not to say that I don't enjoy reboots and sequels, but, you know, that original movies feel like the backbone of the movie industry, right? Everything was the original movie at some point. So, for this video, the new original movie that I saw in theaters is Father, Mother, Brother, Sister. I believe that's the full name. I've gotten confused in my head. I wanted to say Father, Mother, Sister, Daughter, but that doesn't make any sense. I'm pretty big into slice of life movies, and it kind of feels like for me, for a little bit now, I've kind of been chasing the perfect one, you know, looking for the absolute perfect slice of life movie, because to me, when slice of life movies are done really well, they can be some of my favorite movies. You know, something that I really, I guess, enjoy, love, get out of media is a reflection of me. You know, I guess sort of like seeing my emotions represented on the screen. It helps me to be able to emotionally connect to not only what I'm seeing on screen, but seeing what I'm feeling on screen and seeing my experiences on screen helps me better understand and process my own experience. This is a conversation for another day, but you know, men, emotions, being able to talk about their emotions, not always the best combo. So kind of slice of life movies and just movies in general have just kind of allowed me an outlet to be able to reflect and understand my own emotions and my own life. So now, is this the perfect slice of life movie that I've been chasing and that I was just talking about? The answer is no, but that's also because I don't really believe in the idea of perfection. But that's maybe I'll make a video on that someday. But this is a damn good one. This is a really good one. It actually caught me off guard a little bit. I don't want to say the trailer was misleading because I went back and I watched the trailer and it was like, oh yeah, like those are all clips from the movie I just watched. But the tone was just different. First off, I didn't really know that the movie was 3 vignettes. I guess that's kind of on me. It's not, you know, it makes sense that those characters wouldn't be, you know, related. You know, the characters from the 3 separate vignettes, I mean. But it's also just the way the tone of the movie in the trailer was just different. It was just presented a little bit differently than in the movie. I don't know if saying the movie was much more sad than the trailer, but I kind of expected a lighthearted slice of life movie about family. And while I did get the slice of life movie about family, which family at its core, it's a little hard to say that this one was lighthearted. Now, I'm not here to talk about whether, you know, something being depressing is bad. In fact, I am here to talk about it. I think it's totally okay if something is more depressing, more sad, more real, some would argue. But that was kind of the first thing that I really noticed about this movie, about the opening of this movie, was just, yeah, it was more real. So let's talk about the actual content of this movie a little bit now. So there's 3 vignettes. The 3 vignettes. First one, Adam Driver, and I should look up her name. To me, she's Amy Farrah Fowler from The Big Bang Theory. Oh God, okay. I don't want to mispronounce it. I'm gonna have to just put her name on screen because I'd rather just do that than risk mispronouncing her name. They go and visit their father that they hadn't really seen in a couple years. And there's definitely this weird in every one of them there's kind of this level of awkwardness, but this one, you know, there's this level of awkwardness because Adam Driver's kind of debating whether his father's stealing money from him. You know, his father's asked for money for emergencies, and you know, Adam Driver's kind of questioning, is that legit or not? Or at least he starts doing that on the car ride. And there's this whole, I think everyone in this is trying to get a read on the other person. And I think this is true in the second one too, to a lesser extent, but I think they're all trying to figure out where everybody is kind of at emotionally, how everybody's doing, and everything like that. Which, to me, really brings up the most important message that I took away from the movie, which is say the unspoken thing, you know, and I don't just mean tell your loved ones you love them. I mean, you should do that too. That's pretty important. But I mean, like, if you're having problems, if you're unsure about something, if you're feeling a certain way, talk about it. because with this first vignette especially, I just kind of you could tell all three of the characters they had stuff, they had opinions, they had feelings that about the other two people that they kind of wanted to get at, that they were feeling, but they didn't want to put it out there because of hurting the other or saying something that's not true, or something like that, and yeah, that was kind of the message I took away from it is, there's a lot of hints of with the father, even though he was stealing the money from his son, which I really did not, I was not a fan of that. But there was a lot of hints of with him that he was not over the death of his wife. And that's something that's hinted at and shown at a lot in this vignette, but it's not something the characters ever really talk about. The closest they come to talking about it is asking the father if he's had any other mental breakdowns like what happened at his wife's funeral. And this, I just feel like this whole family needed therapy. Sit down, talk it out. And to me, it was sad because it sort of felt like they'd rather just not see each other that often than just talk about the problems. Like, as much as Adam Driver was, I guess, I don't want to say suspicious about stealing money, apprehensive about that, you could tell that was his way of supporting his father. It's not really visiting or calling. It was giving him money because it got around all the awkwardness. And so I just felt like, talk to each other. Anyway, that's way too long on the first vignette, but a lot of those themes are really themes of the movie. Second one really just I don't want to say infuriated me, but kind of did. It was these two daughters going to visit their mom, and it's just it. Like, they just so much unsaid. And, that vignette opens with the mom on a phone therapy session talking about how much she's worried about her kids and everything like that, her feelings for them. And then she just, doesn't show that when they actually come to visit, at all. You don't really... you get the sense that she cares because she's their mom, but, not really a ton else besides that. I mean, they only visit each other once a year. And you have one of the daughters being afraid to come out as lesbian or bi, gay, but having a girlfriend. And the other's just trying to impress the mom, and feeling kind of unnoticed. And I think feeling a little bit like, why am I still trying to impress this person? And so, yeah, I just felt like, again, just... why are you people so afraid to talk about your problems? Just talk about them. And I know it's not always easy. It's easier said than done. But yeah, this is kind of what I was talking about, I guess, movies kind of being a mirror for my own life and sort of leading me to ask questions about my life and see where I can improve is, alright, how do I not be like these people in this film? And the final vignette, I think it was my favorite, mainly because there was no awkward tension. It was about family in a different way. I mean, there was still some, but... So it was about... so the first one was about the father, second one was about the mother, that's the name of the movie. Third one was, not gonna use that finger, brother and sister. And it's about them cleaning out, well, not really cleaning out because the brother cleaned out before this vignette starts, but saying goodbye to the house that they grew up in after their parents died in a tragic accident. So not fun, but kind of just a reminder of, they literally say it, how precious life is, and just, you know, hold on to every moment while you have it, right? Like, if the first two vignettes were about talking about your problems, the third one, I guess, serves as a reminder of what happens if you just wait too long to talk about your problems. Suddenly, you have no ability to talk about them anymore. And there was still a little bit of awkward tension between the brother and the sister, because the sister moved away and kind of did her own life over there, and the brother was saying she moved back, and he was the one who cleaned out everything, and but they still loved each other to death and still be willing to do so much, and I think that was what the vignette was about. As much as it was saying goodbye to their parents, it was just as much about how they have each other. So yeah, it was tough. This vignette got me really emotional, because when they were looking through, you know, old photos of their parents, and the movie ends, the last shot of the movie is they go to the storage unit where the brother had put all their parents' stuff in. And, you know, they talk about, like, what are we going to do with this? And they both say, I can't deal with this right now. I can't deal with this shit. So, yeah, it's just very real. I'm lucky to not have experienced that yet. But, you know, kind of what I was talking about. It's a mirror into my own life. Someday I'm going to have to. And that's just not something I could look forward to. But yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed this movie quite a bit. I would definitely give this a great. Right? You know, meh, good, great. I would definitely give this movie a great. I would definitely recommend you all watch it. Hopefully I didn't give too much away. If this movie intrigues you, I would actually really encourage you to watch it, because to me, a lot of this movie is about the execution, right? So, if you saw my video with Joe on Star Wars Attack the Clones, you'll notice that a point we talked about repeatedly throughout that movie was that movie tells but doesn't show. It kind of says what it wants to say in dialogue. And it kind of just expects you to believe it, because the actors don't really convince you of what's actually going, you know, what they're actually talking about. This movie is the literal exact opposite. It is the ultimate show and don't tell. And it's really props to all the actors in this movie, because they just did a phenomenal job across the board. You gain so much information just from the way the actors look at each other, the way they respond to what the other actors are saying to, you know, what the characters are saying to each other, just glances at each other. You know, that's really how this builds relationships, and how so much of the information that I talked about in this review gets conveyed. Because if you just look at the dialogue, like I've talked about, they don't really talk about any of this shit. Right? Like, so much of the message and the theme is, it's just not something they really talk about, they discuss. So you kind of glean a lot of this information just from the actors acting. And so everyone in this movie did a phenomenal job, and that's why, even though I kind of talked a lot about the plot of this movie, I would recommend you go see it, because like every great movie, it's about the execution as much as it is about the script. That's a little creepy. It's very windy in here. Believe me, I know that's fucking creepy as hell. So yeah, Father, Mother, Brother, Sister, great movie. I would recommend you all check it out and support it. We need more good original movies like this one. Especially because, like I said, so much about it is in the production, the acting, the subtleties. This is truly a great movie that I enjoyed quite a bit. And so, yeah, that sort of brings me to the end of that. I just want to thank everyone so much for watching. Thank you for checking out another one of my videos. And yeah, there's more to come. If you like this format and you want to see me do more, Obviously, it probably won't be for a little bit, just because I have to then watch a bunch more movies and then record and talk about them. But this is something you want to see again. I can definitely try to do at least another one of these videos sometimes this year. So just comment, let me know. And if you like these longer videos in general, I do have more planned. I want to do some more stuff on Mario Kart World now. Now that I finally finished doing full task completion on my Legends Arceus Pokedex, which took for forever. That took me so long, took me 330 hours. I've been playing a bunch of Mario Kart. I want to do 2 Mario Kart World videos. I want to do a track tier list, and I want to do a games tier list. A track tier list for obviously Mario Kart World, and games tier list, and like an all Mario Kart. I want to rank every single Mario Kart. So if those are stuff that sounds interesting to you, please like, subscribe, and yeah, I guess let me know. let me know that too. Leave a comment. Yeah, that little patience with me. Sorry, these videos take a while to come out. But with all that, yes. Again, thank you so much for watching. Look at this graph, and I will see you all in the next one. I'm Alec. This has been awesome. Peace out.